Well, good afternoon, dear teachers. It's so nice to have you here with us this afternoon. That is very warm here in San Jose. I imagine that in your regions, in some of them, it is as well. But I'm sure that we are going to have a lot of learning today with this very pertinent and interesting topic, which is ourselves as language learners focusing on our pronunciation. We are having as well as our panelists and speakers, Samantha Parkes, who is working in collaboration with two teachers. The idea of having these two teachers in the workshop is in order to contextualize what she's saying to the elementary school context and to the high school context. So we are having with us teacher Shirley Duarte, and we are also from the LEP of Santo Domingo, and we are having as well Jonnathan Elizondo from San Sebastian Elementary School. And we have as well Mary Scholl with us. She's the one who has been coordinating this with Samantha and us, the National English Advisors, in order to give you something that you might find useful. I have to say that Marianela Granados is not in the country. She is having some training in the United States, and Alfredo is doing some school visits. That's why they are not here. And Yaudy, my partner, she's also attending something else, so today I will be representing them. So in order to start, let's say my colleagues to introduce again to you and say hello, and then we will begin this workshop.
Hello, my name is Shirley Duarte, and I work at Santo Domingo High School.
Hello, my name is Samantha Parkes. I'm going to be your facilitator for today. I am a Color Vowel Master Trainer and Teacher Trainer. I have taught in Moldova, in Nicaragua, and now in Costa Rica, and I am very happy and honored to be here with you.
Hello everybody, my name is Jonnathan Elizondo. As Isabel already said, I am working currently in Escuela Central San Sebastián, south of San Jose, and it's a pleasure for me to be here again with you today.
Hi everybody, I'm Mary Scholl, and I live in San Ramon and have been in Costa Rica for a very long time, and I know a lot of you. I think I've been to a lot of those places where you all are. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I want to start out with a few caveats and a few things to explain. We're going to be going between the video on ourselves and also the video or the image that we have on our we're using Mentimeter, but it's the slide, like it would be a PowerPoint. And we're going to be going back and forth. So we hope that helps us stay engaged, basically. And sometimes I think it's a little bit, it's not as smooth as maybe it could be. But that's the technology that we have. So we're excited to be here and have at least this technology to work with you. Can I see a show of hands? Because we're looking at all of you all now, which is great to see. Well, you're looking very little. Can you just raise your hands if you were here yesterday? Raise your hands if you were here yesterday. Okay, so what I see is that some, but not everybody. So for the new people, welcome, and for the people who were here yesterday, welcome back. I'm going to go over a couple of logistical things. Jose, can we switch to the slide? Thanks. So the slides that we have today are available to all of you all. We will put them up at the end of the day on our website. We'll create a place for them. So you can have access to all the slides, and the video will also be available through the MEP. And we want to make sure you all know that these webinars are funded by the U.S. Embassy. They care deeply about our well-being and professional development, and as you know, I've been doing a lot of work with the Embassy and MEP, and I'm very grateful to have the resources to be able to do that. And we're also very grateful for the people from the Ministerio de Educación Pública for organizing this. It takes a lot of work to get this organized, and to get you all here, and to get Sam here, and to get Shirley and Jonathan here. It takes a lot. So we really are grateful to the MEP for that. And Centro's been, we have been helping and working to organize this as well. So we're going to be using Mentimeter today as a way to interact with you. We're also going to ask you to interact with a microphone. So if you have I see some hearts coming in, some people are in, that's awesome. And so if you have your cell phone with you and it's a smartphone, we'd like you to get in and click on the heart so we know you're in. And this is one way that we get to learn from you and how we can be more interactive with you. We will be asking you today for your names and where you teach. So for those of you that were here yesterday, we said that we couldn't exactly tell who was answering. Today we will be able to see that because we do want to be able to interact with you on that level. So you'll see in a little bit, we're going to ask you for that. If you're having problems connecting, if you're, just let us know through the system and we can certainly figure out how to help you. How do you get to that? Looks like somebody has a question, but they need to tell, if they have a question, they need to tell the person in charge in their room, right? And that person will tell Jose? Who then tells us?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So if you do have a question, tell the person who's in charge in your room so they can send it over to us. Please, thank you.
Maybe they're wondering what Mentimeter is about.
Yeah. You want to tell them about Mentimeter?
Well, Mentimeter is a great tool that we've been using. I learned from this because of Mary. And so as you can see, basically, you're going to have access in your phones to the slides Mary and Sam are going to be talking about and we're going to be discussing. And also it helps us interact in real time. So if you have questions or if we pose a question that you can answer there, we're going to have real-time answers. And we can see what people around the country are thinking, which I think is amazing, right?
It is amazing. And it's another way for us to be more receptive to your feedback, to address issues as they come up, instead of after we read a piece of paper and evaluation 5 days later, oh, I wish we had thought of that. So I think the immediate feedback is very helpful, and it's another way for us, again, to connect with you and help you feel more involved in what we're doing.
A lot of people.
Okay, we're getting up to 100.
Yeah.
Again, the people with questions, please tell the person in your room that's in charge. Is it the asesor, regional, or the técnico? Tell them your questions so that we can get them. All we can see is that you have a question.
And we also will have time for questions at the end. So if we do not address your question right now, give it to the person who will send it to us, and we will have time at the end of the webinar to address hopefully as many questions as we can.
Okay. People are still getting in. It looks like we're almost there, though. 130, or should we move on?
140.
Okay. All right, so we're going to practice using Mentimeter for just a minute. If you could fill in, what's your name and where do you teach? We'd love to know who you are and where you teach. Oh, please put where you teach too.
Indian is watching us.
Yay!
Great.
See that Cologne? Wow, that's fantastic.
Wow.
You see, that's the amazing thing here. You can actually see where people are actually right now in real time. So
Yeah,
this is an amazing tool.
It is amazing. It is amazing. Let's see. It's still going up.
Luis Punta Arenas.
Again, you people.
I teach online, so the world is my classroom.
That's great. Oh, we're still going on.
She's
Great. This is really exciting to see all your names and where you teach.
Yeah.
My mind is jumping around Costa Rica right now.
Yeah, and I am very excited because I am seeing so many people that I know, so many teachers.
Yeah.
Hello to the people from Coto. I see some very known names
Yeah.
and other teachers from around the country. So welcome.
Wow. 97. And it's going up pretty quickly. On this slide, we're going to wait a little while, just make sure everybody gets a chance to put something in. Hey, you guys, I'm sorry you can't see the top of the screen. We don't know how to fix that. We've been trying. If you need the code, could somebody write it down? It's 90 15 14. 90 15 14 is the code. And it looks like we have more than 240 people connected. That's amazing. That is just amazing. Okay, we're going to move forward to the next slide, though. And the next slide is similar. What's your experience with mentimeter? That's not similar. That was the next one. I love watching these students' colors change. So fast. Look, the numbers are going up so quickly too.
So since many people are going to learn.
Many people are going to learn mentimeter today. That's great. That is great.
I'm encouraged by the 5 or 6% that say that mentimeter is easy for them. Maybe they can help the people who have never used it before.
Yep. All right, the next question we have. How are you feeling right now? Choose one. Some sleepies, lots of happies, some people in love. That's great. Glad you guys can see how to do it. That's great. Great. Awesome.
So many people connected. So
Yep.
when people say that technology lately is tearing people apart, in this case, this is getting us together.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. This is a whole country coming together.
Exactly. It's
It's
amazing.
amazing. It's amazing. Okay, and for those that are sleepy, I hope that this pronunciation, when we get into it, is going to be interactive and give you some good energy to wake up.
Well, you'll have to stand up and move around a little bit, so that will hopefully help.
That would be great. Okay, thanks. Next question. Just in general, what region are you from? We did ask your name in the school where you were teaching. Now, just what region are you from? That's from San Jose.
Well, San Jose has many regions. That's
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that Punta Arenas and Guanacaste are having a good number.
Yeah. Great.
Just one from outside
And today
Costa
we only
Rica.
have sound.
Who
from
could
outside
that
Costa
be?
Marianela.
Great, thanks for that. It's interesting, I think, to see where everybody is from in general, and yeah, it's exciting to be able to connect with you from all over the country. All right, next question. What is something that has made you smile in the last 24 hours? Food, yes. Your son. Haha, this is cool, isn't it? God, students, I love it. Screencasting made you smile, yes. Oh.
So students is the word people are repeating the most?
Yes.
That's
So
why it's bigger?
the words that are bigger are the words that have been repeated more than
Oh,
others.
payment. Yes, today you got your salary.
Amen. I
Family,
love
of
it.
course.
Are you sure it's today? It's tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool.
I'm happy to see that students make teachers smile.
Yeah.
Like, I think we need students to make us smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If your students don't make you smile,
Your
that's
health
a-
is better.
That's another seminar maybe.
Yeah.
Macho Ramirez. Who's Macho Ramirez?
Oh, it's the Costa Rican
Look at that, Mary.
technical director.
More than
Oh,
300.
Oh, right.
Ramirez.
Right, let's see. All right.
Wow, it's crazy. Look at that.
How many people?
That is
320
Oh, that's
people.
fantastic.
Well, that's the number of answers, right? They can add, they can put in 2 answers, I think.
Oh, nice.
So, however many, they have their choice of however many answers they want to put in. Pretty cool, huh? All right. Well, we hope that your pronunciation today will make you smile. And we're going to move on now. That was awesome. This is what we're going to do today. And I'm going to pass it over to, one thing I just want to add in is just to remember at the end of this session today, we are going to be asking you for feedback. And so please stay connected through the feedback. We need to give that feedback to the embassy and to the Ministry of Education. So we would really appreciate that you stay with us to the end and get that feedback in. So, all right, over to Sam.
Great. So this is what we're going to do today. We are going to reflect on our own learning. Thank you. Learn about the Color Vowel Approach. Practice finding stress and color. See how learners can use the Color Vowel Chart in their own learning, and of course answer questions. So let's go back. We have another Mentimeter question we'd like to ask.
We don't have to go to this. We can talk to them. You should be able to see on your phones right now. There's a starting point question. Where is your knowledge at this point in terms of pronunciation, phonemic awareness, phonological competence, and the Color Vowel Chart? So go ahead and fill that in right now. So you guys can see the answers here. Do we want them to see the answers too? Or? Okay, so we can switch.
We don't need our glasses.
Well, this is good. It looks like we have people that,
Yeah.
some people that know the Color Vowel Chart, and we also have a lot of people that don't, so that's awesome. Okay, let's move forward. We're just going to check in here on phonemic awareness. Choose all of the answers that you think are true. And then I'm going to ask you to help out respond to this. Do you have?
Yeah, she does.
Anna, let's get started talking about this.
All right. So as we can see, phonemic awareness is related with listening, hearing, identifying, manipulating spoken sounds in English. So that means, and it's connected to the development of reading and writing skills in young learners. So I think as we can see in your answers, you are completely right, saying that children who are competent or are developing phonemic awareness are able to identify the patterns of sounds. We are working specifically with identification of sounds in words. In first grade, we are working with listening to those sounds in words. Our recommendation is that you work with 3 words per sound. You know that you are teaching 1 lesson of phonemic awareness only, but within the context of this workshop, we are not going to be really dealing with how to teach phonemic awareness, but that in order to teach phonemic awareness, we need to know how to articulate the sounds so that we can produce those sounds effectively when we are modeling to children, because we are the ones who are modeling how those sounds are made, so that when they hear them, they can produce them accurately. So that's something that is very important in the context of this workshop. You are going to learn through the vowel chart how to do that.
So Anna, let's go through the answers individually. The first answer is phonemic awareness is recognizing phonological patterns such, I'm sorry, I'm the wrong one. Phonemic awareness is a skill that is critical to reading and spelling success. And 8% of the people answered that was true. Is phonemic awareness critical to reading success?
It is highly connected to reading success, right? Yes?
Yeah. So we need everybody to realize that the purpose of phonemic awareness is actually about reading success. It's critical to reading.
I can say that actually with the phonological and phonemic awareness lessons that we have had in first and second grade, I can see my students in Central San Sebastian now actually being able to read words, and they pronounce them correctly, and they recognize them, and they can complete them thanks to the phonemic awareness classes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, the second one, understanding that words are made of sounds and being able to hear and recognize and manipulate the individual sounds that make up a word. Is that phonemic awareness?
Yeah, it is connected as well with phonemic awareness, because children need to, as they move on with sound identification, they understand that the words are made up of those sounds, and there are several strategies that we recommend in the curriculum in order to go through that process, like sound identification, as they do in first grade. Then they move into a phoneme classification, where they are able to, categorization, where they are able to find in a set of words, they are able to identify the odd sound, the sound that doesn't belong, or they are able to blend sounds. So that is something that they are going to do in second grade. So it's, of course, in the case of the second sentence, is completely right.
Okay, great. The third sentence, is phonemic awareness a skill that is focused on speaking and pronunciation?
It's not like the main goal, but it has an important influence, right? Because if children are able to identify sounds and they connect the sounds with the words, and they learn to articulate those sounds well, that is going to have a very, very important effect in how they pronounce the words. Mm-hmm. So it has a connection with pronunciation.
Yeah. But is that the primary connection?
But it's not the primary connection, because it's basically a sound identification in words, right? And then connecting those sounds with letters, as they do in second grade, in order to read and write.
So we're going to just do one more of these, and is this the kind of work that we're doing in primary or high school in MEP?
That is also very important, Mary, that phonemic awareness is done in elementary school in the first and second cycle. At the beginning is mostly focused on developing literacy skills in children. So we are not working really phonemic awareness in high school.
Okay, let's go to the next question. What is phonological competence? Choose all of them that you think apply. So you might be choosing everything, you might be just choosing one or two. So I'm glad to see that you are getting almost all of these correct. The only one on this slide that is not phonological competence is that it's not the exact same thing as pronunciation. And we really want to make that clear. The other four are all true. Those are parts of phonological competence, but it is not the exact same thing as pronunciation. Let's move on to pronunciation. Looking at the pronunciation, choose all that apply. So Anna, for this one, are there any comments about the pronunciation answers?
Well, I think they're all of them are right. All of them are true. And it's hard to say which one is more important than the other. The number one, the way in which a word or language is spoken, that's part of what pronunciation is. It's a key part of phonological competence as well, because in order to speak correctly, we need to know how to pronounce, and we are able to pronounce words and become intelligible when we speak. That means that we have a good pronunciation. And we have the competence, we have the phonological competence. So I think the four of them are connected, and you are right.
Yeah, great. Let's move on. Now we would like to know if you have any questions about pronunciation, phonemic awareness, and phonological competence, and why is it important for us to understand these terms? Great, we have none so far. We're doing good. We're doing good, you guys. To be better teachers.
Which is the like to refer a little bit to expand or elaborate on this question about what are the differences between them. And I think that in the options that were given to you, you could see that phonemic awareness is awareness of sounds. So that is for beginning learners. In this case, is more focused on, as we said before, in the process of learning to read and write, because children need to be aware of the sounds of language. And then, from the awareness of those sounds, we make the connection with how the language is written, and that there is a correspondence sometimes between the sound and the letter that represents that sound. So phonemic awareness is connected to the process of learning to read and write and making children aware in the correspondence between sounds, how they are made, and letters in order to read and write. In the case of phonological competence is when you are able to now know that the language is made of sounds, but you are aware about differences in rhythm, intonation, stress patterns that makes that language intelligible and make you speak well. So if you have phonological competence, you also will have good pronunciation. You will be able to speak that language accurately. So they are connected. And in our curriculum, phonemic awareness is taught in elementary schools to children. Phonological competence is developed in high school because they already know how to learn. They learn how to read and write at a beginning level in English, and now they polish, let's say, their skills in using that language. So they are working on the development of phonological competence, which is much more connected, of course, with pronunciation, right? Though through the whole process they are learning how to pronounce, of course, right? But with I would say more focused on learning to read and write in the case of phonological competence in elementary schools, and more focused on the accuracy in speaking when they are in high school.
Mm-hmm. I see a lot of questions here, and we won't be answering all of them now, but I'm hoping that some of your questions will be answered in the process of what we're learning today. This webinar is not the one answer, be-all, end-all of everything about how to teach pronunciation or how to teach phonemic awareness or phonological competence. What we're going to be giving you today is a tool, and we're not focusing on teaching kids today. What we want you to focus on is your own pronunciation and your own phonemic awareness and phonological competence, and thinking about how this tool might help you as a language learner yourself. So I just want to be very clear about that. We're not going into too many of the aspects of how you're working with the curriculum today. That's not our intention. Hopefully in the future we'll have some other opportunities to work with you. But today it's really about learning this tool and thinking about how could this tool help you as a language learner yourself, and then a little bit of how it could be useful for you in the classroom. So let's move forward. How do you feel about your own pronunciation in English?
I think the fact that so many people say they are content with their pronunciation, or very content with their pronunciation, and even somewhat content with their pronunciation, really speaks to the quality of the educational system in Costa Rica and the English language teaching that you all have received in your training as students and training as teachers. Those of you who are not content with your pronunciation or somewhat content, hopefully we will give you a tool to help you feel empowered to improve. And those of you who already feel content, this will hopefully be a tool that you can use to improve the pronunciation and phonological awareness of your students.
Great. Let's move on to the next question. How interested are you in learning ways to improve your pronunciation in English? That's great. So we got a strong majority say that you're really interested or interested. Mm-hmm. So that's great because that's what we're offering today.
Yes, we will earn our money today.
Okay, let's move forward. Sam?
Okay, so we're going to talk first a little bit about some of the issues with teaching English that are not going to be new to you as English teachers. You know them well because you deal with them on a day-to-day basis. So the first question I would like for you to think about is, what is hard about developing pronunciation and phonological competence in English? So you as English teachers know some of these are really common. You run into them daily. There are exceptions, the vowels. It's not our native language. Yeah, these are things that everyone will have no problems addressing. Let's move on to the next question. So were these challenges part of your answers? Give people a chance to answer. Yeah. So you in the previous question said a lot of things. We have tried to boil it down to maybe the three main issues. So we see maybe the three main issues for teaching English as a second or foreign language are the sounds of English that may or may not be present in your native language, the rhythm of English, which may be significantly different from the rhythm of the native language. And the third issue is the orthography or the spelling of English. English has what we like to call a deep orthography, which means that the relationship between what we write and what we say is not close. It is wide. Spanish has a rather shallow orthography, which means that the relationship between the letters in Spanish and the way you say the words is closer. So we're going to take these challenges one at a time. So the first challenge is English orthography. As I said, English orthography is deep, meaning the relationship between what you write and what you say is vast. So there are two main aspects to this challenge. First aspect is that one letter can produce many sounds. So as a little pop quiz, how many different sounds does the letter O make in English? In Spanish, the letter O makes the sound O, always. However, in English, it could make others. So let's hear some of your examples, or let's see some of your examples.
Please write the words that show the sound.
Yes. Thank you for putting a number, but it's nice to go slow, hot, not, brother. Yes. Orange oven. Awesome. Monkey moon.
Rotor.
Hostile omen. Yeah. So there's a little bit of disagreement here, which is interesting. Too many to a single letter. Yes. This is true. This is one of the issues with English, and this is why we all have jobs. Okay. So these are the ones that we came up with. So the schwa sound, as in one, The U sound, to and to. The A sound, as in stop. The ow sound, as in how. The sound, as in woman. The I sound, as in women. And the O sound, as in go.
Did you come up with those?
So we're using the same letter to create 7 different sounds when we read it out loud. Okay? So the second aspect is that one sound can have multiple spellings. So this is kind of the reverse of what we just did. So how many ways can you spell the sound oo, as in glue? And please put examples, that's really helpful. How many ways do you spell the oo sound? Good. Food, good.
Universe.
Unicorn. Universe, yeah.
No, it would be unicorn. So it's not, it's a U, it's not a U.
Unicorn. It's unicorn. Because the main sound is not EU, it's oo. Unicorn. How do you say it?
Unicorn.
Right.
So there's the yes, so it's a different.
Right, but the stress is on oo. The stress is not on that little inflection before the oo.
Because when I think like a Spanish speaker challenge with that word is they say unicorn instead of unicorn.
Right.
Yeah, they miss the
Unicorn.
Okay, should we move forward?
Yes. So these are the ones that we came up with. Blue, UE, moon, double O. Two, just one O. Flu, EW. Shoe, OE. Future, U. Soup, OU. So the same sound can be spelled in many different ways. Okay. So the second challenge, the sounds of English. Many of you mentioned this before. The sounds of English may or may not be the same sounds of your native language. Okay. So how many vowel sounds does each of these languages have? What are your best guesses? We're just talking about vowel sounds here.
Oops.
Oh, Mary's giving me answers. Oops. So Spanish has 5. We already know that. A, E, I, O, U.
All right. You got your guesses? We're not going to see your answer.
Japanese
Yeah.
have 5.
Japanese is 5, yeah. Okay.
So here you can see Mandarin, Spanish, Japanese, Ilocano, which is a language spoken in the Philippines, Russian, Turkish, Arabic, Polish, all have 4, 5, or 6. Hungarian has 8, Pashto has 9, Portuguese has 9. English has, depending on what dialect of English you speak, anywhere from 14 to 16 vowel sounds. So what you are doing is you are asking your students to produce sounds that are not present in their native language, which is heroic. So here we have the Color Vowel Chart with the Spanish vowels on top of it. So you can kind of see where the Spanish vowels correspond to the English vowels. So you might notice right away that E is present in Spanish and E is present in English. But silver pin I is present in English but not in Spanish. And oftentimes Spanish speakers do not pronounce the sound I, they just pronounce the sound E because it is in their language. So what you are going to do as teachers and learners is to train your brains to produce.
Hace una semana llegó un cabello por primera vez a clase. Y solo sabes bien mal. Y hace 2 semanas llegó uno que...
The schwa sound exists in English, but there is not really an in Spanish. They have a, which we say is olive. And then a variety of diphthongs that are present in English, like ow, I, oi, that are not present in Spanish. So the third challenge, the stress and the rhythm. And when we say rhythm, we mean prosody. So if we look at this set of words, English does not give us a clue how to pronounce them. There are no rules. However, if you pronounce them incorrectly, we will not understand you. So it is very unfair. So if we look at the word banana, how would you say the word banana in Spanish?
Banana.
Banana.
Banana, right?
Banana.
In English, the second syllable is stressed, banana, banana. However, we look at the second word. How do you pronounce the second word in Spanish?
Panama.
Panama,
Panama.
right? But in English, it's Panama on the first syllable. So the reason we need to teach our students to understand stress is because native English speakers will not understand them if they put the stress on the wrong syllable in the word, because English is a stress-based language. The stress is where the meaning of the word comes from. So this is kind of a little visual from the Prosody Pyramid by Judy Gilbert. So ultimately, stress is from the vowel. We get our stress in English from our vowel sounds. So we can take a thought group. Let's work on this equation. Everybody just say it. Let's work on this equation.
Let's work on this
Let's work on this equation. Let's work on this equation. So we can say, generally speaking, in English, the last content word is the word that gets the stress, is the focus word. We don't say, let's work on this equation. That would sound really weird in English, right? Let's work on this equation. So we're looking at our focus word, which is equation, which usually in English, not 100%, but usually the focus word comes at the end of the thought group. Now we have our focus word, which is equation. It has 3 syllables. Which syllable has the stress? The second, right? And if you can't tell, just try it the other way. Is it equation? No. Is it equation? No. Equation. Equation. So we have found the stress, and that is the peak stress of this thought group. This is how we can reflect on the rhythm, the prosody of English. Let's work on this equation. It doesn't mean that let's work on this are not important, but as you know, many of the sounds in those words get reduced to schwa. Let's work on this equation, because equation and a gray day equation is the most important sound of that thought group. So, what can we do to work with these 3 challenges? Orthography, the sounds, and prosody. Enter the Color Vowel Approach. The Color Vowel Approach was invented to address these 3 major challenges with the teaching and learning of English pronunciation. So what I would like to do right now is I would like for us to all go over the Color Vowel Chart together. So for those of you who are tired, this is your chance to stand up. So let's everybody stand up. This is the participation part. All right, so I can see some people are not standing. I wish that you would, especially those tired people. Yes. Here we go. So I'm just going to model the ways that we can use the chart, and we're going to go through it together. Ideally, we wouldn't have lovely Anna holding it for us. It would be on a wall or on your whiteboard, okay? So first of all, I want you to notice that the Color Vowel Chart is representation of the mouth. So this is where our tongue is in the mouth. So if everyone say green T-E.
Green T-E.
So it is high, your tongue is high in the front. Green T-E.
Green T-E.
And then if you go blue moon ooh.
Blue moon ooh.
So now it's high and to the back. Let's skip down here. Olive sock ah.
Olive sock ah.
So your jaw is low and your tongue is low. So everywhere on here is a visual representation of where the sound fits in your mouth. Okay, that's the first thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through all of the sounds in English, and we're going to use our hand to represent the stress. This is part of the teaching prosody, which is the third problem that we talked about. So I'm just going to model, and I can actually see everybody now in all of the different regions. So I would like for you to stand up if you're not already standing. Thank you. Please stand up. Many of you are. Cheers to you. Oh, yay. Some people are standing. Okay, so I would like for you to take your hand. It could be your right hand or your left hand. I'm left-handed, so I will use my left hand. And I would like for you to just we're going to take 5 minutes, and I would like for you to just repeat after me, okay? Green tea E.
Green tea E.
Okay, so let's try this again. It's to move your hand forward, not like flicking water off your wrist. Green tea E.
Green tea E.
Lovely. Silver pin I.
Silver pin I.
Excellent. Gray day A.
Gray day A.
Red dress E.
Red dress A.
Black cat A.
Black cat A.
White tie I.
White tie I.
Olive sock A.
Olive sock A.
A cup of mustard A.
A cup of mustard A.
Let's try that one again because it's tricky. A cup of mustard A.
A cup of mustard A.
Lovely. Purple shirt
Purple shirt
Auburn dog aw.
Auburn dog aw.
Brown cow ow.
Brown cow ow.
Rose coat o.
Rose coat o.
Wooden hook
Wooden hook
Wooden hook
Wooden hook
Blue moon ooh.
Blue moon ooh.
Turquoise toy oi.
Turquoise toy oi.
Let's try again. Turquoise toy oi.
Turquoise toy oi.
So what we are doing is for those of you from yesterday, doing multimodal things. We are using kinesthetic learning to put our hand where the stressed syllable is in the word. We are using our eyes, obviously, to show where this vowel sound fits in the mouth. And our eyes and our ears and our mouths and our hands are all connecting together. I want to talk a little bit about a couple of things that are important on the chart. At the top of the chart, you can see a little Y here, because the E in English is not the same as the E in Spanish. The E in Spanish is E. The E in English is E. Everybody try it. E. Everyone try it. E. One more time from the audience. E. So there's a Y here. Very, very tiny. It's almost like a diphthong on its own. Gray is a famous diphthong that everybody knows. I want to go up to blue moon ooh. You have ooh in Spanish, but ooh in English is ooh with a w on the end. Ooh. Ooh. The same with rose. You have o in Spanish, but we have o. And ow, with a w, and oy with a y on the end. Oy. Okay? So I want to spend just 2 minutes talking about one of the major issues that we mentioned before is the sounds. So the sounds of Spanish are different from the sounds of English. Everyone put your hands up really high like this. Thank you. So this is E. Now go E. So E. All right? This is a way to show your students how to say I. They probably cannot hear I because it's not in Spanish. But they can see their hands and their jaw are moving together. E. So now they can see it. And if they cannot hear it, they can perceive it. They know that it's there. They know where it is. They know what it feels like in their mouth. And you can do this with all of the vowels. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. We'll sit down and switch back to our presentation. So, what is MEP, DKECF SUMA? Okay, so Mary, can we go to our are we on our slides?
Yes, let's switch to slides. Now, some of you all might ask, how can you do this on your own without Sam here to guide you?
Right.
And so what we want you to do is go to this free online resource from the State Department. And it's americanenglish.state.gov/resources/color-vowel-chart. So if you guys could go to that on your phones, you're going to find a beautiful present.
And it's interactive. You can click on it, and you will hear someone pronouncing what we just did together, basically.
So here I'm going to go to it.
Sure.
You have the website, I hope. I'm going to switch over now. And here you can see the Color Vowel Chart, and you can play with it online for free.
Ooh, blue moon. Purple shirt. A cup of mustard. Olive sock. Black cat. White tie. Gray day.
Okay. So you see that this free resource is there for you to practice on your own. Kind of exciting, huh?
Yeah. And I hope that you are able to take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to talk a little bit about the things that we have already discussed. The first thing is the sounds. The sounds of English are different from the sounds of Spanish. And this is important because many times when teachers are teaching pronunciation, they tell their students, just listen harder. You need to listen harder. And that is kind of an unfair thing to say to your students because there's nothing wrong with your students' ears. The problem is their brain. There is an area of the brain called Broca's area. And Broca's area's job is to, as a baby, filter out the sounds that are not in the baby's mother tongue so that the baby can focus and learn their parents' native language. So we are all born with the ability to learn any language that's out there, but as we grow and develop, our brain is trying to protect us from being overwhelmed by the sheer number of sounds that are existing in the world. And so as we get older, we lose the ability to hear those sounds that are not in our native language. So that's why the Color Vowel Chart is very helpful to get your students visually where the sounds exist in the mouth and to show them how to pronounce them with using the correspondence between their hands and their jaws. So if they can't hear it with their ears, they can see it with their eyes, feel it with their hand, and then begin to perceive it and produce it in the mouth. That is why the kinesthetic portion, which may feel kind of weird to you, is so important because it's a way of bypassing Broca's area to get to another part of the brain in order to access those sounds. That Broca's area is actively preventing you from trying to hear and produce. Okay. Next slide.
Next slide. So back to the slide.
So, how would you use this with a set of vocabulary? So the problem is you teach vocabulary to your students and they cannot tell how to pronounce these words if you give them a list of words. Family, mother, father, sister, brother, grandparents, cousin, they're all related. All of these words are very important and the students will copy them in their notebooks. But how does the student, when they go home from school, how can they practice these words? What is the way that we can help them figure out how to pronounce these words on their own when they are not at school? So here's the answer. Next. This is called the Color Vowel Organizer. So when the student gets a list of words, like their family words, you can put these words in categories. Red words together, black words together, cup of mustard words together, and olive sock words together. And you can see on this Color Vowel Organizer, the student has written a word and they have underlined the vowel. It's not any old vowel, it is the stressed vowel, the most important sound of the word. So relatives, everyone say red dress relatives.
Red dress relatives.
And then we have family, black cat family.
Black cat family.
Black.
I don't see them doing it where they are. Let's see if we can get them to do it too.
Maybe they can't see us.
Can you join us?
Let's move cup of mustard mother.
Cup of mustard mother.
Can you all out there in the world use your hands, please? Cup of mustard mother.
Cup of mustard mother.
Cup of mustard brother.
Cup of mustard brother.
Cup of mustard cousin.
Cup of mustard cousin.
Cup of mustard uncle.
Cup of mustard uncle.
Excellent. So if we just look at the cup of mustard square here, we have cup of mustard brother, cup of mustard mother, cup of mustard cousin, cup of mustard uncle. How many ways do we spell cup of mustard in this small set of vocabulary?
So four
Different ways.
Yeah.
There's 4 different ways. You can spell with O, as in mother and brother. You can spell with OU, as in cousin. And this is where a lot of people say cousin. It's not brown cow, it's cup of mustard cousin. And we can also spell cup of mustard with just simple U, uncle. So here you are drawing your students' attention to the fact that the cup of mustard sound can be spelled at least these 4 different ways. So instead of the next time they read a word, they can make an educated guess as to the pronunciation of the word because they have categorized or clustered or grouped these words together. And now when they go home with this Color Vowel Organizer, they know how to pronounce their vocabulary words and they know how to practice them. So let's do some practice. I would like for you to write down these 4 words. And I would like for you to underline the stressed vowel of each word. You can say them out loud if you want. We can't hear you, so no one's going to know. Now, if you have the Color Vowel Chart pulled up from the website, or maybe we can show it to them, Mary. If everyone has it written down, I would like for you to find the color of each of these 4 words. And you can talk out loud and figure it out. Don't be afraid. Okay, so let's check our answers. So, cup of mustard num, you should have underlined the U in num. Cup of mustard number, again, you're underlining the U in number. Blue moon numerator, you underline the U in numerator. And red dress numerical, underline the E in numerical. So these 4 words have a very similar root, and the stress changes on each of these words, and therefore, if the stress changes, the color also changes. Okay? So I would like to spend a couple of minutes talking to you today about the launch pad. There is a web link, I guess, or web address for the launch pad. They can't see it. So we have created, for each of the webinars we are doing this week, we've created a Google Drive folder with resources for all of them. For those of you who were not able to watch the screencasting webinar yesterday, all of our materials for screencasting are in that folder. Our presentation, our video examples, etc., etc. And then today, for the pronunciation webinar, we have information and links. And you can see one of those is the Launchpad, which is a tool that you can download and print and use for yourself and with your class. So let's take a look at it. So this is the front page of the Launchpad. As you can see, this was designed for teachers to use with students, but you can use it with yourself, obviously, to improve your own pronunciation. So it has my names, my teacher is, I'm from, I speak. Initially, you'll have your students fill out this information, but you can use these 4 phrases to practice working on prosody, finding the stress of this phrase. I speak Spanish, I speak English. It's not I speak Spanish or I speak Spanish, right? I speak Spanish. That's a black cat phrase. I speak Spanish. I'm from, where do we want to say? I'm from San Jose. That's a great day, San Jose.
I'm from Upala.
Upala, okay. Olive sock, I'm from Upala, right? So these little phrases may seem like normal for people to write on a paper, but you can use them as teachers to help teach prosody to your students, where the stress is. You have a picture of the Color Vowel Chart, which you can go over with your students or by yourself, just like I did when Anna was holding up the poster and Shirley and Jonnathan were repeating after me. And then we have what's called a Color Vowel Discovery Activity. It is very similar to what we did earlier when we asked you to find how many words or how many sounds can the letter O make. So you can see on the top line, one vowel sound is represented by all of these words. So dress, friend, bread, any, said. These are all red, but they are all spelled differently. The spelling of e is different for all of these words. And then the reverse. We have the letter O that can be pronounced many different ways. 1, woman, 2, women, go, stop, wow. So it's the same kind of similar activity that we used to develop your phonological awareness about 10 or 15 minutes ago. You can use something very similar with your students. And then on the back is the Color Vowel Organizer that you or your students can use to categorize the different vocabulary that you are working on in your class. So instead of having a student just copy down a list of words in their notebook, they can copy the words in their Color Vowel Organizer, and when they take them home, they can practice all of their red dress words. So they can say red dress bread, red dress any, red dress friend, red dress said. This is called flooding. You're flooding the brain with the same sound over and over, creating neurological connections between these sounds and these words. Drawing your students' attention to the fact that the red dress et sound can be spelled different ways. Okay, so if you choose to embark on this, to use it with your students or with yourself, these are just my simple tips First, have students fill out the top part with their name, who their teacher is, where they're from. You already know this information. It's not new information, but you can use those phrases to help them learn prosody, how to find the stress of a phrase. Please use the hand gestures. I know that not everyone is comfortable using hand gestures and using movement in front of students and by themselves. But the kinesthetic piece, as you know, as teachers, is very important and sometimes integral to the learning for students. Some students heavily prefer kinesthetic learning over visual or oral learning. And we are multimodal teachers. We are trying to teach all of our students, not just the students that learn through reading. Oh, can we go back?
Oh, sure.
And then again, practice the entire chart, because even though in your curriculum you may be focusing on certain phonemes that week, you have to be able to say all the sounds in order to talk to each other. So you can practice certain sounds that correspond to what you're talking about in your curriculum, but students need to be aware of all of them in order to speak to you. And then go over the examples one line at a time in the color vowel discovery activity. Okay? So, review all of the colors using hand gestures. Notice that the red words from the front page are already in the red box on the back page. And notice where the other words have already been placed. And then the students can begin to fill in their own words with their own vocabulary that you have assigned them, or that they can look up on their own. So we wanted to take a few minutes to just show you examples of how the Color Vowel Chart and the Launchpad can be displayed or used in classrooms to give you a little bit of inspiration. So here, this is a chemistry class. You can see the words are sun, chemical, light, ferro oxalate, ester. I don't even know these words. But if you write them down with the color next to them, so this teacher has underlined the stressed vowel and put the color, and I would suggest that you write the color in all capital letters so they don't confuse the red dress color vowel word with the red dress of an actual dress that someone is wearing. So that's one example. Here's another example. This teacher simply created a space on their whiteboard for each sound. And so as they go through the words together, the teacher or the students can just write down the words in the place where they belong.
That's fun.
Mm-hmm. And this is another version of that. So you can see on the whiteboard, the word is protest, rose. So anytime your students ask you a question and you teach them a new word that's maybe not in the vocabulary, but they're just interested in knowing it, the teacher put rose in parentheses to let them know how to pronounce it when they go home later. And then this I think is interesting because the students made these. So each student in a group were in charge of a different color, and they had to draw a picture that represented the color. And then the students had to write their own words on these larger pieces of paper, excuse me. Here's another example of students making out a poster board different ideas. And here I think it's interesting to note that the letter F, what color is the letter F? Red dress F. Red dress M. Green tea E. All right? So a couple of things to consider. Again, the hand gestures are an important part of learning stress, an important part of connecting that kinesthetic piece that is important to your learners. Use all caps to tell the difference between a color vowel chart word and just a regular color if you're just teaching the colors. And then underline the stressed vowel or vowels to draw the student's attention to different ways a letter can sound. And this will help them with spelling, which helps them with literacy. So, yes, let's take a few minutes. Everybody can go to the free resource and click on it and kind of play around. and then we will have some time to answer your questions, but I don't want to take all the questions.
7 minutes?
Yeah, take all the questions before you've had time to play around with it a little bit.
They should be able to get on the phone. If they can get on the mentimeter, they should be able to get on this.
Yeah.
Actually, something I wanted to point out about this website on the Color Vowel Chart is that it has like the PDFs for the teacher's guide in case you need to review something or more ideas probably on how to work it.
This is really important because today we're kind of scratching the surface of the ability to use this tool. It seems like a very simple and easy tool, but actually there are many levels to the way that we can incorporate it and use it in our classes with our students. And today we're just going over level 1. So yeah, there are many more resources. There is a website that has videos, which is very helpful. I, of course, am a master trainer in this, so this is what I do, is I give trainings to groups of teachers and students on how to use and integrate the Color Vowel Chart for their own pronunciation or for working with students. Also, they are creating an app that you can download on your phone that will have a Color Vowel dictionary. So there's a lot of exciting things happening.
For a few minutes.
Can you just tell them how to do that?
Yeah. So we're going to go mute for about 5 minutes so you all have some time to play or time to talk.
Or
the next thing we're going to be doing is asking you if you have any questions. So another thing would be to talk about what questions do you have. So we'll go mute for 5 minutes. Do you want to answer these, or do you want to ask for any microphone questions?
Oh, yes. Well, I think we can go through some of your questions here. We want to thank you for your nice comments, and National English Advisors know the importance that attending this topic is for you. We know that this is very, very important. With regards to some of your questions, first of all, to clarify that in elementary schools, in the first cycle, we are devoted now to phonemic awareness development, which is more connected, as I said at the beginning, with sound identification. Of course, as Sam said, this vowel chart, color vowel chart, can be first used with us. Maybe we can learn the vowel chart first. So it's very important for you to go to the website to practice a lot, you know, the vowels and the rhymes, let's say, right, the phrases that are attached to each of the vowels, so that we learn to pronounce the vowels accurately. As a matter of fact, that's a challenge for any non-native speaker of English, to pronounce those vowels accurately. And then we can begin working with students. As they move on in the second cycle, for example, where they have more vocabulary, and we are enlarging that vocabulary, and the complexity of the goals and the development of their English proficiency improves, so we can teach the color vowel chart, because we can begin teaching and emphasizing some vowels, and we can ask them to begin identifying in a text that or some text that we are working with a reading goal, maybe that they can begin classifying some of the new words that they are learning within that vowel chart. So those are some ways that we can do it as they become more proficient in elementary schools. In high school, where you are working with phonological competence, I don't want to get deep into high school, because that belongs to Marianela and Alfredo, and the request that they made to me is that if you have specific questions, that you send those questions to them, to their emails. But I think that in the same case, you can devote, when you are teaching reading, or you are introducing, when you are activating prior knowledge and modeling, you could, of course, use the color vowel chart, so that they try to match the new words with those vowels, right? To see if they are able to identify the vowel and at the same time pronounce those words correctly. So I think that can be a very useful tool for any language learner to improve pronunciation, because that makes us like enlarge the number of words. If we don't know a word and we go to the vowel chart, we try to see if it's an or if it is an e or I, or the long E, that is the one that we have in our language, or the more similar one that we have in our language. So I am glad that you are being exposed to this material that is free for us, and as Jonnathan said, has a lot of more resources inside that you can adapt, because these are things that are there for us, and we are the ones who have to know how to use it in the classroom to adapt them to our goals. But part of this new curriculum is that we are also integrating pronunciation, right? Beginning with phonemic awareness, then phonological competence in high school, but that's a key element of this new English curriculum, because in order to speak accurately and well, we also need to learn how to pronounce the words correctly.
Anita, I saw some questions there on, like, for example, when should I use the color vowel chart, or how can I adapt it to first graders, and so on and so forth. I think we teachers can actually make those. We teachers can make those decisions. So, for example, if I think of first grade as an elementary school teacher, I don't think for first graders I would start using right away the vowel chart, like the color vowel chart. Probably not with the words, just with the colors, like black, like this word "and," for example. It sounds like what? Like black, like right? And we see just the color, not the words, because in first grade we're not using words yet. But when we move to second grade, for example, I can see myself using the red dress and the black cap, because we're seeing middle position of words. So we actually are, I think we teachers can make the decisions of, okay, from this chart that I have right here, which part is the one that right now my students' needs and what I am teaching with my students. I don't think I'm going to be in second grade probably showing them yet the brown because we're not looking at that sound yet. Maybe just the color, not the word, not the spelling. But I can start introducing the spelling of red dress, black cat.
You can also make a red dress, and you don't have to put the words up there. You could just say red dress and have your red dress up there.
And this addresses someone's question is, do we explain it or just use it? My advice is just use it, especially with children. You may not want to explain everything, and you probably will want to focus on what is matching your curriculum. But if your student, let's say you're focusing on those red dress words, but your student makes a pronunciation error with a oo word, you just simply say to them, no, Jose, it's blue moon zoo, not blue moon whatever. And so you just say, and then have the student repeat after you. Say blue moon zoo, and they say blue moon zoo, and they're going ooh, ooh, ooh. And they don't even know that they're practicing that pronunciation.
And I think now that Mary mentioned that, instead of the words having created the green tea, like the picture of the green tea for first, second, third graders, I think that would be amazing. They will be able to associate the word with the picture, and so they're not looking at the written form, but they are listening and they are working on phonemic awareness. That is what we want.
And we have to, sorry, Mary. And we have to remember that when we are working with phonemic awareness, we have rhyming. So in phonemic awareness, we are working as well with rhymes. And here we have them, because if we said red dress, that's a rhyme, right? That's a word that has two vowels with the same sound. And they can even create other phrases that match those vowels. And as Sam was saying, if we say red dress, egg, or elephant, so they can remember the things that they are able to remember, because it's like a key word or key set of phrases that make them remember the sound and how it is made in the language.
Flooding up the sound.
Yeah, flooding up the sound.
To close,
Yes.
I would like to reiterate that what we really are offering right now is that you become aware of the chart, and that you use it for yourself on your own pronunciation.
Yeah.
For everybody, including myself, I was thinking, do we say it this way, or do I say it that way? Everybody, every English teacher, regardless of what your first language is, needs to become very fluent in these sounds. And this tool is a great opportunity to do that. Some of you all asked some questions saying, you said you need to learn, you want to learn more. The first thing we're offering is go to the website. Practice with the website. Practice your own listening. I think you can be self-directed learners and design your own learning with that website. And then bit by bit, see how you can incorporate something into your teaching. That would be my advice. We have 4 feedback slides that we'd like to ask you to fill out. The first one is now on the Mentimeter. We're going to ask you to fill out the 4, and then we'll have any closing questions or comments.
To ask them that we are going to give them time, if they want to from the region ask a specific question, they will have that chance.
Yeah. So let's quickly fill out the feedback, and then we'll have any open questions, any open mic questions or comments. While they're filling it out, do you want to answer any other questions?
Yes, so someone asked if this was based on IPA, and I do want to talk a little bit about that, because IPA used to be something that I used to teach my own students, but then I realized if I'm teaching my students the alphabet, and then I'm teaching my students IPA, which is essentially a different alphabet, that is a huge cognitive burden for my students. And so it is based on IPA, all the sounds are represented, but instead of teaching your students 2 alphabets, I think it's just much simpler to teach them green tea E instead of the little I symbol. Because the I symbol, which works in Spanish because that's how you pronounce and write it, does not really work in English. There's a cognitive dissonance that is created when you're doing that. So I have switched in my own teaching from teaching IPA to using the Color Vowel Chart, and it's made my life a lot easier, and my students are way less confused. if I were teaching a graduate level linguistics class or a graduate level phonology class, I probably would use IPA because that would be more appropriate for that audience of students. With Jonathan's first and second graders and with Shirley's high school students, I probably would not, because I think that's a little bit cruel in some ways. Some of you are asking if there are full-fledged workshops. Yes, there are full-fledged workshops on this approach. I'm going to show you my email at the end of the presentation. Some of you are asking how to get posters and more materials and information. You will have my contact information at the end. If you are interested in having a workshop, we can coordinate with your advisor and MEP and maybe the embassy, which has printed the posters that you're seeing today, and see if we can organize training for you. If you are interested in that, I am interested in meeting you and coming to your school and sharing with you. So we will try to work on that as much as we can. Right, Anna? Do you think that's a possibility?
Sure. That's a possibility. With the support that we are having now from the embassy that is sponsoring these workshops, we are sure that more things will come up as you are requesting here. And that's why your feedback is so important.
Right.
That's why we need you to tell us how these things fit within your needs in order to give our children the best English lessons possible. Because all these that we are doing is in order to make English learning more enjoyable, more effective, and achieving the goals that we have posed in our English curriculum.
And also in the Google Drive that Mary mentioned before, there are a lot of resources, and I think more resources will also be uploaded that are for everybody to use. Just remember it's bit.ly/ and then 2018 MEP SEM US Embassy Webinar Resource.
So let us know how to make these initiatives to fulfill your needs, please.
And my, like I said, not only my email, but everyone's email is going to be on the very last slide. So you can write down my name is samparkes@gmail. You can write down Anna's email. I think it's also on the last slide. And start a conversation between the three of us and your local regional advisor to see if you are interested in learning more about it. And if you found it useful and helpful to you, we'll start a conversation and see what we can make happen.
Are there any questions that people want to ask in there?
Now it is your time for your own questions. Time for your own questions.
Or comments?
Comments. You can, someone from each of the sites that will be willing to ask a question or a request that you want to make as a group that we can listen to you.
I think we were doing so much with mentimeter that I'm always thinking about.
Yes, you can save the documents. The Launchpad that we went over, you can download and print it. And I would also like to say you do not need to print in color. The Color Vowel Chart is beautiful because it has colors, but the colors are nice. They're not the main piece of the chart. So it works just as effectively in black and white as it would in color. So if you're concerned about that, you can download the Color Vowel Organizer, which is already in black and white, but the Launchpad you can download it, just print it in black and white if you prefer. The resources are going to be in a folder. We're going to show you the link again, probably. If not, you can download our entire presentation.
There's the folder. Oh, that's not actually a link.
Yeah.
We'll go here. Oops. Oh, that's not here. It's not there. We'll send it to you. It disappeared. It disappeared. Let's see. I'll go out and I'll put it back in. You guys need to help me with what that link is. Hold on. Let's try
So Mary's going to add it back in because it disappeared. You have to be flexible when you use technology. You never know what's going to happen.
No one wants to say anything.
I think there is.
Yeah, I think they got it.
Yeah.
That's great. Super.
They asked, are we supposed to work?
So don't answer the slide, you guys.
You're not supposed to work, right?
There we go. There we go. Okay.
Like,
HTTP
get
colon //
To determine attendance or something?
conversation, they post it correctly, then they get points out of a test or something?
That's a good question. I don't know what you have in the curriculum, but I feel like if you've taught them how to produce and practice, it should be not 100%, but you should give some points for correct pronunciation.
Because we do a lot of oral
Yes.
tests, so when they don't pronounce well, then you should break them right.
If it affects their comprehensibility, and you've already talked about how to pronounce the word, and you have the tools, and you've corrected before, I would never grade them on something I haven't taught them, obviously. But if it's a word I know that we've gone over, yeah.
So Mary, maybe we can be like wrapping it up.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you so much. Thank you to the U.S. Embassy for sponsoring this and to MEP for organizing it. Thank you, Sam, for joining us.
Again, please feel free to email me if you have any questions.
And thank you, Shirley and Jonathan, for joining us as well.
Thank you for having us. Thank you very much.
And I would like also to thank again our teachers, right? And tell you that in this reform process, we are trying to really give you the credit and the role that you as teachers deserve, because you are the ones who are making this change happening. And we are asking you, requesting you that anything that you are doing that is innovative in the English classroom, please let us know. We can go visit you, and we would like also to share what you are doing with the rest of the teachers in the country. We are about to launch our site for English Elementary, and we will have that pretty soon. A lot of resources will be there for you. We hope that you can visit pretty soon that site. We also want to tell you that tomorrow we are having our next video conference. Samantha and Mary will be, well, especially Samantha with Mary's support, which is like the general coordinator of the workshops. I will be talking about the process of writing, and we are trying to articulate that process since almost third grade, where we have the first goals, where children begin to really write a paragraph or short sentences, up to the second cycle and high school. So I think it will be a 3.5 hours workshop that will be very, very beneficial for you and for us, in order to see how to do this, and samples of students' writing, some ways to create rubrics and all that. So have a very nice afternoon, and thank you for joining us.
One other thing. Tomorrow, if you're coming tomorrow and you have a computer, that would be great. We need you to have paper and pencil. You'll be doing writing tomorrow. So bring paper and something to write with, and if you have a computer, I think it will be easier. So yeah, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow or sometime.
Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
End of recording. Bye, Octavio. I see you.